All right, looks like it's the witching hour here. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Town of Abingdon Planning Commission meeting. If we could have a roll call for attendance, please.
Mr. Anderson appears to be absent. Dr. White?
Here.
Mr. Schuman?
Here.
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Mr. Humphries?
Here.
Mr. Kelly is absent. And Chairman Austin?
Present.
You're not here.
All right, thank you very much. First on our agenda tonight, we have approval of minutes of the January 22nd, 2018 meeting. Those were provided to you in the agenda package earlier. Has everyone had an opportunity to review those? Are there any additions or corrections to those?
I would move that they be accepted as presented.
I'll second that.
All right, motion made and seconded. Any additional discussion? If none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you very much. Tonight we have on the agenda 3 certificates of appropriateness. The first one involves Papa Tom's Cantina, 924 East Main Street, parcel number 106-4-2A, Zone B2. Joel? Yes, okay, I'm sorry, walked right by you. How are you tonight?
I'm good.
Good. If you come forward, state your name and address for us for our record.
Joel Jerkins, 924 East Main Street is the physical location for the restaurant.
All right, thank you very much. You've asked for a certificate of appropriateness. If you'd just like to go forward and tell us.
Yeah, I
what you're
apologize for the
proposing.
first drawing, the one that I had nice and pretty for Jason. When I went to send it to him, it reverted back to the old drawing. So that's a 5-minute redrawing of that thing. So I apologize for the looking like my daughter did it. So I actually brought this to you so you can actually see the physical colors. That is the metal that will be around the bottom where it's in the gray there. These are the colors of the trim work, the stain of the wood that will be there, and that is the existing roof that was there when we inherited it. So that's all we've done to change anything, pretty much. Just changed a little bit of the colors.
Haven't we dealt with this previously in terms of that this is just a change of something we...
Just a change of the colors, that's all it was. They're toned down a little bit from what we had the first time. I figured y'all like these better. So I know we do. We started putting that stuff together, and it was a little bright, even for a cantina. It was a little bit bright. So
You also changed the windows,
Yes,
is that
sir.
correct?
yes, sir.
What changes specifically did you make to the windows?
We had them to where they were retracting up, and we actually put fixed windows in. So it's a year-round space now versus a seasonal summertime, fall and spring. So now it's a year-round space.
Yes, sir.
And that's in the back of the building versus the front. The front's pretty much the same as it always has been.
All right. All right. Other questions that the planning commissioners may have? It's been reviewed by staff, and I think there's a recommendation contained within our agenda. Are there any questions of staff regarding the recommendation that's been made?
Does our engineer have any comments?
No comments on this. Unless I think he's part of it.
All right.
Right.
Recommends to accept as presented.
All right. Any other questions by the commissioners? If not, I'll entertain any motions regarding this request for a certificate of appropriateness.
I'll move, Mr. Chairman, that we accept the colors as presented, along with the change in the windows.
Thank you, sir. A second to that motion?
I'll second.
All right. Any additional discussion? All right. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. You can just find it. Dr. White?
Aye.
Mr. Schuman?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Humphries?
Aye.
And Chairman Austin.
Aye. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Jerkins.
Thanks, guys.
Go to Gatlinburg. I was waiting for a food show.
Oh, really?
Thank you, guys.
Be safe. Take care. Next on the agenda tonight, certificate of appropriateness, First Bank and Trust, owner of 667 Porterfield Highway, parcel number 017-1-4, Zone D. Matt Bundy is here regarding Bundy Architecture and Engineering as the representative. Matt or Dan, either one?
Yes.
You've been through the routine a few, many times, more than I have. Just give us your name so we'll have it for the record.
Matthew Bundy, 190 East Main Street, is the office address. Yes, what we're requesting and what the plan is to do, obviously everyone here is familiar with the existing branch that is located at this same location. They've acquired several adjacent properties, including the Jade Tree and going all the way to the end of Holston Street. And what their plans are is to build a brand new branch where the existing branch is, so they'll have a temporary branch located to the left, and then as they demolish that one, then build a new one back. And so several items that we definitely want to get in front of you all as soon as possible. Well, the main item especially is the general design, but also the parking. There are a lot of trees there on the existing site. We've had Mr. Sigmund, the town arborist, come out and look at the trees right in, and he had recommended that we keep all except this 34-inch Douglas fir that's on your all's site plan shown as being kept. And so we're trying to keep as many of those big trees as possible, which is restricting the ability to put in a huge amount of parking. Right now we have 108 total spaces, which far exceeds the needs that the client has for their use, and so we are requesting a variance to that parking requirement, which would be 160 spaces for this facility, and that's and it's quite a bit greater than the state average. If you look at other localities, generally 1 per 200 or 1 per 300 spaces is required, which we would meet any of those localities' requirements. I guess that's about it.
How many employees will be located there, total?
I don't know the exact number, Kenny, but I would think somewhere in the 50 to 60 employees.
So you'd have about, again, 50 spaces for people for patrons?
Can I speak to?
Please, sir.
That's what I'd like to just ask Mr. Smith. Of course, I think, I'm not trying to lead you into this, but I think that there's a lot of more electronic banking and online banking now
That's true.
negates some of the need, maybe?
Banking has become something that you do and not a place you go in the last 20 years. And we have a pretty extensive electronic banking service. This office will, like all of our other offices, has seen a reduction in the number of face-to-face transactions that take place, direct deposit, people's account, those type things have reduced the number of traffic that we once had. You don't see lines wrapped around the building on Friday afternoon anymore, people cashing their checks. It's just a thing in the past. So I think that our interest here was that there's some really beautiful trees, pin oaks on that property, and some pine trees that line the old Cozart office building there at the intersection of Holston and Broome Street that we wanted to try to preserve. We thought that would, would make the lot look a lot nicer. Instead of scraping everything off and getting every parking place we can get out of it. We didn't see the need for, a parking place for every 150 square feet in this building.
This represents an investment of approximately what into the community?
We anticipate this project to be around $5 million.
Which means that's about $7 million. Mr. Chairman.
We hope not.
I noticed that there's several requirements listed here. Are those going to be incorporated into your design?
From the engineering department?
Yeah, the ones,
Yes, what we will have to do is revise the location of the driveway. We'll probably bring it up closer to where that Douglas fir is that we are gonna take out. Or we'll work with the engineering department to determine where they want to exit on that side of the site. So yes, we'll definitely implement that. The other comment was regarding the sewer line, which we can alter that to meet this engineering requirements. Is that all of them? It was the driveway and the.
That's all staff stuff, isn't it? That's
Yes.
nothing that we need to.
Yes.
but I mean, I think that since the staff has recommended this, I just want to make sure that they agreed to what the requirements were.
Mhm.
You've reviewed all those, man, you
Yes.
don't have a problem with
Yeah,
it?
no, we don't have a problem.
And the question is also asked on the second page, does the applicant own every parcel involved in the site plan? And there was a question about who owned the small parcel between the two buildings that are scheduled for demolition.
Y'all, and all of these parcels across the.
Yes.
Right.
Didn't understand. I went out there and drove out there and couldn't find anything, a parcel in between. It was Jimmy Fleener and Russell Fleener. And then the Daddy Fleener lived at the very end where the Singletons live now. And there's nothing in between that I saw that, it all was one continuous property. The two lots were.
Mhm.
They're adjoining.
Yeah, I'm not familiar of anything that, between the J Tree and the Fleener property or the J Tree and the First Bank and Trust Company, so anybody knows the rest.
Matt brought this in if anybody feels the need to see it.
Yeah, that only shows two properties there. But you all are in possession of all the property
Yes.
shown in the development.
And the other question that is asked from staff here is the applicant planning to combine the lots or leave them as currently platted?
That's a question for you.
No. No.
Not combine them with the plat.
Know what? Know what?
No, there is no plan to, you're asking if there was a plan to
I'm just reading the question.
recombine them?
What was Matt Bollock's?
What about the lots where if you're planning to, some people, when they buy several lots, they replat them into one lot. And if you do that, then some of the subdivision ordinance requirements kick in. But if you just plan to leave them as platted, then that requirements are not enacted.
I'm not, I have not been apprised of any intent to combine them. Let me put it that way, at this point in time. When Mr. Otter gets back from Hawaii, we might ask something different.
I understand. All right, thank you. Commissioners have questions? All right.
It's going to, yes.
What are the thoughts of the commission?
Are you asking for a motion, or are you asking for
I'd be
thoughts?
pleased to entertain either.
Okay. I would move that we waive the parking variance. I mean, waive the parking on this and grant their variance on this for, how many is it, Matt? 100 and,
We have 108 spaces shown.
for 108 spaces. Which would, well, that's the motion.
Do you want to include in that the approval of the certificate of appropriate and just do it all in one?
I would rather do it two. And the reason being is there's some of it the staff will do, and it'll be according to staff.
Okay.
This would be just the variance on that, which is the only real variance that needs to be granted in this property.
All right. Motion has been made to approve a variance for the parking requirement. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's approved now.
Now get the other one.
Well, I guess the second would be, I'd move to approve the certificate of appropriateness, subject to the requirements of staff stated in the memo of February 14th, 2018.
Second to that motion? Motion is made and seconded. Additional discussion? Let's have a roll call vote on this, please.
Yes. Mr. Anderson? Dr. White? Mr. Schuman?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson? Mr. Humphries?
Aye.
And Chairman Austin.
I'd like to abstain as a shareholder in the bank, and likewise would please note on the voice vote we had on the previous motion that I abstained from that. All right, anything else, gentlemen? Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. All right, next on our agenda tonight, under the certificates of appropriateness, Marathon Realty Corporation owner, parcel 021-1-5B, zone B2, Linda Cox, Eastman Credit Union, Luther D. Hall, AIA, CAW, Rash West Architects representatives, who is here to speak on behalf of this request for appropriateness. No. All right. Do you know what notice they were given tonight's meeting that this was going to be before us?
I do not know. My notice was this morning, so.
Okay. All right. I'm going to suggest then that we table this and notify them and ask them if they intend to proceed on this. If you commissioners find that to be appropriate, I'd be pleased to entertain a
I think
motion.
it's been the tradition too, to table any, that they will not know one's present, state for it.
Yes.
Possibly there is other staff that could have helped in this particular situation, but I am not one of those designated few.
Right.
Well, they sort of tried to snow us with the paperwork though. 30-something pages.
Why would you like to put that in the form of a motion that we table this?
I've just looked at the infrastructure. I don't really have a good feel for what they're proposing to do besides a branch office of their business.
They worked with Mr. Bensel
Mr. Boswell?
entirely.
Yes.
Bruce Jason.
He is at Planning Commissioner School.
All right, do we have a motion to table this to our next meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All right. Any additional discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that'll be tabled to our next regular meeting. Next on the agenda tonight is old business and matters not on the agenda. And first under that is discussion of proposed changes to Planning Commission ordinance. Who can speak to that? Do we have someone from staff that can speak to that?
We do have first draft of the ordinance that simply removes a couple of standing requirements that the ordinance has had for some time. And that is inclusion of the town manager and a town council man.
What's the reason for that?
It's just part of, it's an ordinance.
It is an
It's an ordinance, it's not a, it's
It's-
not a, one of our founding
It's not-
pillars.
And it's not part of the charter.
No, it's not part of the charter.
Well, I guess my question is, if you're going to eliminate the town manager from being a member, and you're going to eliminate the member of council from being a member. So my question is, why do you
Why
want to make
would
that
you want-
change?
You can probably.
I don't know either,
Answer that
and
too.
I don't know either. It's not something that I'm particularly in favor for. I'd rather kick that can down to another council, see if the other council would like to do that. I think probably one of the reasons that it might be is, as we've all had our commissioner training, tell me what the guy's name is.
Mike Chandler.
Mike Chandler. There are several locations in Virginia that have council people and town administrators or council combinations on the boards. And Mike Chandler is one of the ones that thinks that it could be problematic, but basically politically problematic more than anything else. And so I think that was why Mike did that. I think that there were because of that, they looked at trying to change the ordinance to see if there was a movement or a want to change that. So I think this is possibly part of whether it's a movement or want to. I know that as we go through this, unless something's a change in it, like I say, I would, from this level right here, I would vote personally against this. And, but it keeps from putting the town administrator on the spot and council people on the spot. But, that's part of it. And so if it happens and it's not, and you go against what the political norm is, then you suffer political consequences or,
Well, one of the things, the reason I asked that question is, I think in terms of having particularly a council person here, when you look at what the discussion is and how and when this recommendations move to council, I think the fact that there's a council person here is helpful to the extent that they know what the arguments were and you can have a discussion in front of council that would go beyond what the minutes are, because, the minutes are I think required to be brief. You could have voluminous minutes.
Yes.
But I think that the council person really does have a good feel for what was discussed and can bring that to the, I don't have a strong feeling about the town manager, but I do think a council person is helpful.
Well, I think it's, a lot of it to me is, it's like anything else, is continuity. And so, like if you're, I know in the medical field, you have that continuity of care where you have the same physician treating, looking after you on an ongoing basis versus having a hospitalist or many other people that might look at you and have 3 or 4 people that look at you rather than one. So that continuity of understanding and ability to convey that, I think, is important. But like I say, that's something where that this probably is not going to do anything until it reaches a new council anyway, and might not be decided till then. The one thing that I will reiterate, reiterate as much as I can, is the importance for all town council members and all planning commission members to have planning commissioner training. There's so many things that are involved in planning commissioner training that you realize that are beyond the scope of what the commission can actually do or should do. So I'll reiterate that one more time too.
Professor Chandler's thoughts have influenced some of the professional organizations who feel as if it would be a progressive move to open all the places up to citizenry. And I really can't justify it otherwise, except I think it cuts both ways. I think that having the consistency of having a town councilman on this commission, and then again, that can be good, and obviously somebody's found something that didn't work out so well there. It's a matter of objectivity and different situations. So it appears to be a trend.
Well, I think what the saying is wise. I mean, I think that it's important to have someone here for that continuity purposes. But I'm not sure we need both people here. And so I probably would divide the baby in some fashion along those lines, would be my initial thoughts.
You know, if you wanted to do that, one of the things you could do is you could have the council person or the administrator, either one. It'd probably be better to have the council person on the board, and then make the administrator an ad hoc member, non-voting. And then that way, that person would be here to be able to know details. It also helps as any project or anything that's pushed along, is overall vision of exactly, you know, how the council's thinking, how everyone else is thinking, how the people are bringing stuff to us, what their thought process is. And he is able to incorporate that on a daily basis into what their project is versus us, where we're down here for one meeting a month. And, you know, and in my case, you could boil it down to 2 meetings a month, although there's many other meetings, but this meeting and the town council meeting, so.
Gentlemen, would you like to share any thoughts or ideas? Not that we're going to act on it tonight, but
I think one or the other needs to be here. I think that's important, but yeah, like you said, both. It's not necessarily.
And that might be a very good compromise.
and I like the idea of ad hoc member. There's some wisdom in that.
Very good.
Yeah, sometimes there's things that are beyond the scope of a council person that the town manager might know, or even staff people that know. Yeah, I mean, that's why it's so great to have the staff people that are able to fill in some blanks for us. And the same thing for the administrator could also do too, if it was an ad hoc member.
Was this ad hoc, you mean really ex officio?
Well, ex officio, you could, yeah, ex officio would be, yeah, an ex officio member. Because ex officio would mean that they are a non-voting member.
I couldn't get that open.
I've always viewed ad hoc as temporary.
Yeah,
Latin professor.
you can have a semantics.
Latin professor sitting there.
Yeah.
Well, I was just asking Kenny, this was not included in our packet for tonight, the proposal, is that correct? I didn't.
It wasn't on the
It was
agenda.
not.
It was, no, hold on,
I
it wasn't,
haven't
it
seen
was on the agenda, but it was not in the packet, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
It wasn't.
It wasn't in my
Sent it
packet.
2 months ago.
Oh, yeah,
It's been in
oh,
the-
yeah, we've had, oh, yeah.
It's been around for several months.
Yeah, it's starting to smell.
Well, I apologize, it's a new smell to me, I don't think I've seen it. I stand to be corrected.
No.
Well, one thing too, I think, you know, the council member is not appointed for the same period of time or as the regular commissioners are, so that turns over more than the commissioners do. And again, I think that's a good thing if there's any issue about the politics involved, because if I recall, the council members usually on for a couple of years, is that right?
Right, there are
They can be-
time limits.
Yeah, there's time limits, I'm not sure exactly what the times are, they're like usually two years, or they can go
That's-
2 years, or maybe 3 2 years. One of the big things is, and the other thing that's becoming is as mentioned before, is as you're getting your training, it becomes expensive. So, you know, you're looking at a couple thousand or maybe even $2,500 a person to be trained. And so anyway,
And time.
yes. Okay, yeah. Oh. Which one? One down? I was gonna see if we get the minutes to reflect, Kim, that we have our newest member here for the first time.
Absolutely. Welcome, thank you.
You have some identification on you, so we know who you are?
It's not at the post office.
And the other thing I have is, Ms. Harmon is here, and so we'd had a question come up about several different little things, and so I called Greg Kelly for some information, and Greg actually sent me something, and I'll let you have this. Would you mind if I read this? This is what this had to deal with Eastman, but more than overall it had to do with access and egress into her property.
It's on Eastman, it's in regards
In
to
the
Eastman.
Margaret Eastman.
That's, since we
I
tabled
know you
those,
tabled that,
just
but he wanted me actually to read this in if I could. Not even, it doesn't have really concern even Eastman. This just concerns the overall planning stuff. I'm at your
Oh,
pleasure.
that's fine. I was just gonna say if it applied to Eastman, since we tabled it, we'd do it at the next meeting, but go ahead.
Okay. This is, it says, "Good afternoon, Rick. This will acknowledge our prior conversation on this day regarding Magic Mark Connector Road across the property of Ms. Nan Harmon that will ultimately connect the traffic circle to the traffic circle at the Meadows development. As I will not be at the Planning Commission this evening due to medical condition," Greg had some stuff done this afternoon, be out for a couple of days, "that I had today will require me to be out for a few days. Given my absence and in the light of your inquiry, I thought it would be good to put in writing that captures the status of the connector road so you or Deb can read it during this evening's meetings in my absence. In this regard, as we discussed, I have met with Ms. Harmon twice along with town staff members Matt Bollock, Tyler Bensel, and Jason Bos. Ms. Harmon has been very receptive to the work with the town to make the connector happen. Matt and Tyler have met with her as well on site. By way of concessions to Mrs. Harmon in exchange for allowing the connection, in addition to paying her fair market value for the land necessary to make the connection, I agreed that we would allow her to have several entrances off the new road into the Magic Mart and perhaps an entrance off the connector road where site distance permits. During my last meeting with Ms. Harmon, she indicated she had not yet decided whether she would or not develop her property into commercial lots or keep it as it is and remain and live there. If she ultimately comes up with a development plan, we can provide her with entrances in the front on town-owned streets and will enhance the marketability of her property for future development. Please take note that the Eastman Credit Union Certificate of Appropriateness that's on tonight's agenda does not have any impact upon the connector road across Ms. Harmon's property. I hope this will address the current status of the connector road and the concessions I think the town can make if we reach acceptable terms with Ms. Harmon to acquire the necessary property for the connection. Matt Bollock and Deb Eisen are both to be present at the meeting if there's any other discussion on this. Of course, you tabled the part about the Eastman and Nan, if I can give this to you,
Sure.
then that way you'll have that in hand.
Okay, because we met, but I don't have anything like that in writing.
You do now?
Yeah, I do now. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And, yeah, this is all just, I guess I'm at the podium now. But this is all just things that we've discussed back and forth. And I guess Mike and I have no idea about, my farm, if I'll be able to live there or not, so we'll see. But this was, I want to make sure that if this connector happens, that I will have an entry into my property that meets the regs, or if not, grandfathered in to meet future regs. So if I, decide to sell out commercially or for residential or whatever, that it would meet the requirements for entry. In other words, I don't want to be, bottlenecked in there.
And as I told Mr. Craig, when I talked to him earlier, that I would try to get this because it's actually out of the purview of this board to be able to do anything with that.
Yeah,
So it's outside of our scope, but I wouldn't have you to have that in hand.
I'm surprised, I don't know, I just came to see what was going on with the,
Eastman.
thank you, with the credit union, and I did see at the courthouse today, you can find out a lot of things at the courthouse. And I was looking for some stuff, and I found that one of the parcels, I think number 9, in the Food City Development had been sold or closed January 28th this year. And I looked up for the Hampton Inns, so that one parcel on the, would be the south side of the Food City Development has been sold. And it's the Hampton Inn, I don't know, 3 or 4 stories. So that will look right, I've had some real great privacy out there, but that will look right down on my house, So, yeah, we'll just see how it all works out. And I do want to meet with Matthew and Tyler and Greg again to see if something could, I've been against the development, if anybody didn't know that. Anyway, but it is what it is now. It's over there, it's happening. If you don't believe it, come out to my house for a while. But the connector is something that I think the town has needed for years, that, you know, because of the Magic Mart in that situation. So that's something that I think should go in. I saw plans for it years ago, it'd be about 20, 25 years ago. That's something that I think would help the town. But, you know, we'll just see how it goes. But
I'm
thank
glad
you.
you have that now. So
Yeah,
that-
thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harmon. Mr. Humphries, you've moved us into the discussion part of our.
That was a slick segue, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was.
Was there anyone else who would like to address the planning commission? It is subject and limited to 3 minutes, but you may address the planning commission on any issue, whether it be on the agenda or not. Please come forward, give us your name and your address, sir, and we'll be pleased to hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Louis Heggie, 454 Green Springs Road, adjacent to the beautiful Meadows project. My short and brief statement is that I would like to know, or in the future, if there is any plans for having them, you know, to buy any other of the houses down there, since they have been bought.
Ms. Treggy, I'm not sure that this commission could answer because we're not involved in that part of it, and I'm not aware of anything along that.
I can answer as a council person, I would. I'll put myself out. As far as I know, Mr. Hagee, there is no other, I know of no other negotiations, and I know of no other want that the town has to buy any houses right now. That might change in the future, but as far as the discussion I have had, I do not know of any. So I might be ill-informed, but, you know, I have not been told or in any way.
Well, the reason I came up here primarily since a marathon was included in the letter. And I thought they would be interested, you know, in purchasing, you know, but to your knowledge, so that there's no future plans and.
Not that I know of, but let me just tell you something. Can we get Marathon's telephone number and give it to Mr. Hagee before he leaves? We can let you call to Marathon, because Marathon might have something. I don't know their plans.
Well,
And you can have their number, and Steven Spangler, the person that does acquiring a lot of the property, you can give him a buzz, you can give him a call. And so I'll get that for you before you leave.
all right.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Yes.
I want to come back.
State your name and the.
You only have 20
address,
seconds
so-
left.
Nan Harmon, 498 Green Spring Road in Abingdon. One thing, and this may be just procedural, and I don't know the details of the, it was Eastman Credit Union, right, that was going. I got a letter as an adjacent property owner in the mail on Friday, and it was postmarked Wednesday. So, and then the meeting is today. So if I picked up my mail at, 5 o'clock Friday, and if I didn't have a chance to go today to educate myself, because it says that the meeting is not the place to educate yourself, to look it up. So I don't know the time constraints or when you got all this packet together, but I think for the public, it would be nice to have that information so you could educate yourself at least a week in advance, if that's possible. But like I said, this may be procedural. And the second thing, Rick won't cut me off here. The second thing is.
He's not the
I'm
chairman.
not
You
the
go
chair.
ahead.
He's the
Thank
chair right
you,
here.
Mr. Austin, I appreciate that. He said he was gonna go. But anyway, back to the road situation in mind, and to be brief about it. And I've been at the town council meetings with the discussion of the roundabout and the recent traffic study that was paid for. And the traffic study concluded that one lane traffic circle was not adequate to cover, to hold the traffic from the ball fields. So, one thing I'm concerned about with, let's say, in the future, if I live long enough or don't, I may die out there, who knows, that if I decided to develop that would a constraint, if the traffic circle is to hold the traffic from the development and the sports complex to the east, and whatever other businesses may go in there, that may be a constraint on future development on that, that interstate quadrant as well. If I would come up and they'd say, oh, sorry, or let's say I have somebody who wants to buy it and wants to develop it, and then they said, well, we're looking at the traffic constraint of this traffic circle, and it's not going to hold the traffic. I mean, the study that was conducted in July of 2017 said it wasn't adequate to hold what the design is there now. So how could it hold future, how could it hold more traffic? And so
We understand your concern, yes.
I think if that's a possibility, I don't know who I've talked to about that, but who could really, and for economics of the town too, if it's only a few years out, you want to build what is adequate for the next 2, 3, 4 years, not build something that then has to be redesigned and changed and spend millions more dollars, and may constrain. I guess I'm the last one on that quadrant to be, that has any open land. So that's a great concern, and also for the town itself and financially, what's going to happen there.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Let me echo her comments. I know that from time to time we have difficulty in getting information out just because of the, well, I don't know why, but in any event, if we could get our agendas earlier, I would like to do that. And then we've had problems. This is not the first problem that we've had in being able to get those opened up. I couldn't get it opened up. I went on the town's website again and tried to open part of it up, and maybe I'm not computer savvy, but I couldn't get it open to where I could print it. I could read it, but I couldn't print it.
Yeah, I agree with Wayne, and I do think, that if you're getting something on a Friday for a Monday meeting, that's not enough time for people to be ready to address the group here. We need to make sure that everybody has an equal opportunity to say what they want to say.
Well, we have a cutoff. We have that, in fact, this committee instituted a cutoff of when things could be put in, and then still have time, the staff have time to get them on an agenda and get them to us. And it's about, I know it hurts people sometimes because it's like the first of the month, and we don't have our meeting till almost the end of the month, but it gives the staff time to take care of their duties and get to us. It's made quite a few people mad, but right now, and we actually only have an interim planning director, and he's going to school, and as we see, he's not here tonight, and I'm sure that all of us would like to have had him here tonight, and but it is what it is too. So, but I do think that should be duly noted, and it should be in the minutes. And whoever's taking minutes is Kim, that and maybe get that to Jason. To make sure that we adhere, and Nancy Head to make sure we adhere to.
Nancy's not helping you, Mr.
Okay, so who is helping you?
Kim,
Okay.
who has 75,000
I know you've got. I was going to say you've got like 8 jobs now.
Yes,
So,
she does. She's a wonder woman.
I was wondering why that bunk was in the back. I guess we know now. So, but no, if we can make sure that he knows because if he'll adhere to that, and I know sometimes it's really, really tough when people come in and they really want something on, but. It
so
would
you
make,
would like to have it at least a week in advance? Is that what
there's actually in the minutes there's something that has the cutoff time. It was done when Matthew Johnson was here.
Okay.
That we had a cutoff time of and I don't know when it was. Do you know, Matt?
I'll check the minutes. I'm not aware because I wasn't helping at that time.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Anyone else like to address the commission? Yes, sir. Please come forward, give your name, address, and we'd be pleased to hear you.
Stephen Jett, 333 Court Street. I was interested to hear about the proposal to voting membership of the commission, and I've long thought that since the commission is an advisory commission to the council, that it was a bit incestuous to, nothing personal, to have as voting members the town council representative and the city manager or town manager. I would think that though they are important resource persons to have available, and as non-voting resource people or members without a vote, I think that'd be a good move. Thank you.
Thank you. Ex officio.
Ex officio, that's what I call them.
Anyone else care to address the commission tonight? Yes, sir. Please come right up.
Hi, Joe Levine, what is my address? 340 and 350 Green Spring Road.
Yes, sir.
And I had not planned to address the commission when I came today. I was strictly coming to listen and find out, but reiterating somewhat what Steve said and the idea of this planning commission, I see great benefits to having the planning commission be, a look at it, again, without any voting members of the town staff or the town council, and then using, depending on what's on the agenda. I also support the idea of getting the agenda in advance and having the cutoff periods, and then when you've had a chance to review the agenda and find out what's on, inviting the staff people or the town council people as whoever's going to be the most beneficial to come. I also see a great advantage for fresh eyes when the planning commission presents it to the town council, that it's not already a done deal. Okay, you've had two voting members, you've had the town council member, and you've had the town manager as voting members. So in exerting influence, I think I see an advantage of the separation, and it also, I think, would help a lot with this planning commission is, making a good presentation, based on things. It's not just having your decision, move it forward, and then the town council. I think actually when there is an important subject or, to actually present to the town council the pros and the cons and the reason for the recommendation. And I think at the end, it would be a good help for the town. So just a suggestion.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? All right, I think everyone that has addressed the commission tonight, it's always nice to hear what everyone else's views are on these issues. And I think the changing of this ordinance is something that we will find to be very important in how planning and zoning in the future go with Abingdon. And so I not only welcome you, but I encourage you to return when the Planning Commission considers this ordinance. It will not be tonight, but when that is done and advertisement is made of it, I'd like to welcome you back at that time, or any time as far as that's concerned. All right, next on the agenda, it is listed as announcements. Do we have any announcements or matters that need to come before the commission? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
See, I didn't hear anything after you said I was wise, I tell you.